Alright, again here, Andrew. Sun came out again, miraculously, and we're just getting the bucket, as they call it, getting this retrobright, and so far so good. Another hour of sun and this will be looking new. So we'll keep going and hopefully the clouds stay away for long enough.
That are in a gated community, live in a gated community, they have a false sense of security because of that gate.
Yeah, the gate means nothing because, first off, the gate can be crashed,
right?
But the real danger is within the gates.
Yeah, I can see that, and I've talked about this on my channel. You know, I have a skid steer, which really isn't that, I mean, it's heavy duty equipment, but there's not much that can stop that skid steer. If I want to get into your house, I can peel open your house like a tin can. And there's people out there that have way bigger and better toys than what I do.
It's funny you say that. I just got a picture this morning. And actually, some of the people on my go to my site and read Grizzly's Corner. My buddy Grizzly just put up a gate that your skid steer would not even touch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, these poles, they're like this big, in the ground so far. I mean, your skid steer wouldn't do it.
But a dozer, you know, whatever.
Right,
but
you can blow through pretty much anything.
If someone wants to get to you and your stuff, they can do it. So the gate, and you know, just saying, well, we have guns. That's false sense of security and another thing I talk about on my channel is night vision. I know there's hundreds of millions of people in the U.S. that have firearms, but what percentage can fight at night?
Right.
I know
very small amounts.
Yeah, very, very small. I'd probably say 1 or 2% of those people actually. And when we were in Iraq, the Iraqis wouldn't fight us at night because they knew that we were going to destroy them. Because we can see and they can't.
Right.
And so, you know, that's another thing. So a lot of these people that say, well, we have guns, like, okay, that's cool. Well, can you fight at night? Do you have the ability to...
Well, and let me just mention this. There's a lot of people who have bought guns and probably ball ammo instead of hollow points or whatever.
Right.
But they don't know how to use the guns.
Right, and that's what I was going to touch on.
There's a ton of people like that because they bought the gun and because, you know, they might have fired it a dozen times or something like that, they feel proficient. Under stress, you're not proficient. You don't even know how to replace a clip.
Right. Right, and so, and it comes down to other stuff too, not just your firearms. I mean, it comes down to all these different survival, you know, filters and, you know, all these different items that you buy. So a lot of people will buy a bunch of cool stuff that, you know, does a lot of good for you, but if you don't know how to use it, it's worthless to you. So we're going to probably kind of bounce around because I kind of jotted this down, so we might come back to some of these topics. But so I had a viewer question that was asking about, in a grid down scenario, what's better, to be in a location with cold winters? So let's talk about, I know we've already talked about this on the last interview. I think security is the most important prep, but I mean, really these 6 things that I'm about to talk about, I think you need to have all of these. I don't think maybe one's more important than the other, but so I think security is most important. I know you said food. So let's talk.
I said water.
Did you? Okay. All right. Well, and I agree.
there's people out there that will be watching this and say, oh, you got 5 shots, you're out. Well, there's a shotgun in pretty much every corner of my house, so
right.
You know, if I go through 5, I drop the gun, go to the next one.
Right. Well, and I mean,
you could buy guns in Costa Rica. You had to do it through a corporation. Now they've changed the laws, and you got to get psychological tests and blah blah blah.
Which you're not gonna.
Yeah, I would not pass.
So good thing we moved out of there, right?
But the reason I'm telling the story is because both times we were somewhat rural, but not totally rural.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would do is probably every 3 or 4 weeks. First off, I did have 2 German Shepherds down there, and they don't like black dogs. I mean, they look at a black dog and it just freaks them out. But probably once every 3 weeks on a Saturday or Sunday, when it would be quiet, I'd go and fire 30, 40, 50 rounds. And all of a sudden, I don't know, the time I did that, my driver came to me and said, Bill, everyone around here calls you the crazy gringo with guns and 2 black dogs. And I'm like, well, that was the whole point.
Right.
So, yeah, guns will let someone know you're there, so it will attract attention.
Right.
But it's the attention that you kind of want attracted because they know you're armed.
Right.
And, you know, whether they think you're practicing or not practicing or just firing rounds up in the air or into the ground or whatever, just to make noise, it doesn't matter. They know you have guns.
Right.
And they'll take an easier, they'll walk through an easier door to walk through.
Right, and I think that's why probably the home invasion numbers are way down in Texas, because...
Oh, well, I'm glad you brought that up. When I lived there from 2006 to 2011, now I don't know what the numbers are now, but I can imagine they're higher. There were 2 home invasions every day in a population of 6 million people that really did not get reported. They were never became statistics because they did not want, they didn't want to scare the tourists.
Mm.
So in order to portray it as a safe place, and the Pacific side, the beach, is pretty safe. The east side, the Atlantic side, is kind of a no-go zone. But I mean, in San Jose, and that's a population, then it was about 2 million people. I mean, there was 2 home invasions every day. My chiropractor's wife was abducted on a Saturday afternoon at about 3 o'clock, and he couldn't find her for 30 days. Found her in a hospital, and she had no memory other than what had happened to her. And she got pulled into a van by 5 guys. They gang-raped her and threw her off the bridge, left her for dead.
Jesus.
And she, 2 or 3 months even afterwards, she still had no memory of her childhood, no memory of being married to the guy. And that was not a statistic. That was just, you know, oh well.
Wow. But yeah, so home invasions I think are down here because they know
Absolutely. And
there's a good chance you're going to run into a firearm if you.
Right.
So
exactly.
So it does.
It's
So
called respect.
right, makes sense. So food. Obviously, you know, I've got the dry stuff, but I also have goats. I have cattle. I think it's best to try and get something that's renewable. Obviously, you have a garden out here that you have the chickens now, so that's
Yeah, the chicken farm.
yeah, your chicken. Thanks to me. So, like when it comes to food, obviously the goal is to be able to have something that continues to either reproduce or you know you can keep planting or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking northern climates, if you're cooking over an open flame, the pots that you use on your stove, they'll be warm in a week.
Right, so that's another thing. So yes, food is obviously important, but then you have to make sure you have all the tools and you know your plastic spoons and all that. You normally cook on the stove. That's not going to work
Right.
in an open flame. So you just got to make sure that you have all that. So then water, obviously storing gallons and gallons of water is not, you know, that's not.
How are you going to boil it? Do you have the tools to cut up that wood?
Right.
Have you stocked cords of wood ahead of time? You know, do you have it already pre-split? Is it ready to go?
Right. So I personally, like, I can filter my tank water or my pond, whatever you call it, but I'd rather filter rainwater, something like that, because it
tastes like shit, but you don't want to drink it.
Right. So, yeah, because taste is going to come down to it too. So
it won't die.
Right, right. So I have 1 million gallons of water in my backyard, but I'd rather not deal with that. So I actually have somewhat of a rain catchment system. But yeah, so bottled water is not the way to go. I mean, that's cool for if there's a hurricane, short-term, 72-hour, maybe a week-long event.
Well, I did. I stocked up on water.
Right.
And I probably wouldn't drink it now, but I use it to bathe with.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of the greatest seducers were not good looking at all. What are the qualities of a great seducer? I'm revealing stuff I shouldn't be revealing.
Robert Greene is one of the best-selling authors in history. An internationally renowned expert on power strategies. The rappers and songs by Jay-Z.
Any industry related to like human psychology seemed to be really peculiar to me. Yeah, and also I never really had a lot of power up until that point, so it wasn't like I knew everything about being a leader or anything. You know, a lot of things that happen in life are kind of by coincidence or serendipitous. You don't necessarily plan on it, which is sort of, when you look back on it, you can see a kind of an odd plan going on, like a destiny or fate. But in the moment, I didn't feel that. I had all of these different jobs.
Right, we have this new harness put in. I don't know, they're much heavier wires. That's the jack, I suppose, that's blanked off for the graphics card. But it's in anyhow, with the PICO refitted in there. Fully recapped analog board, fully recapped logic board, fully stripped clean and working floppy drive with a new cog in there. Right, let's give it a test with our 12 volt DC in. Huh? That is so cool. Okay, let's see what happens. Now I've checked and double checked everything. Yeah, PICO is good. Everything is good. Okay, plugging in the power. Good. And oh, thank God for that. We got a chime anyway. Yeah, we're all back on. Everything's looking lovely. Okay. So off. Connect the floppy. Floppy on. Yeah, we have our speaker solder back in. Well, fitted back in. You have to use a solder to melt the little tabs because they're oh yeah, there's no drive plugged in, right. Good. Now accelerator. Accelerator in. Yeah, everything working. Looking good. Little fan is running. That's good. That screen is darker. Oh, I remember reading on the high voltage do not touch. Jeez, I don't want to go near that fucking thing. There's a little thing I have to adjust on the circuit board on the back of the CRT. Cut-off, I think it was called. So we'll have to do a bit of research, find out what the fuck that is. The screen is definitely darker and wider with that new harness. So it says I have to adjust the brightness, which is that one. Yeah, that's nice and bright. And it said that there's adjust the potato. And now I'm trying to adjust the little pot on the neck board itself. That's about it, I'd say. Okay, that's that done. So, that's good. So far, so good. Shut down. Right, now what do I have? Now, finally getting to the end. This is the tray that was in the machine, Andrew, right? There's what should be in it. See the little tray? Two little tabs, the same two little tabs. And see they're equal distance at the back, and there's the front, look. The reason the SE30 caddy is shorter is because the SE30 logic board, its power connector on the logic board is further back than on an SE logic board. So he's fucking toast. And I've mounted your blue SCSI with two bolts is all it would line up with the holes. 1, 2, little tie wrap at the back there just to keep it in place, and it's oriented the correct way with the little SCSI to fit in the lead. So now we'll bolt this into the machine, and now we're getting close to the end. Yeah, that's the correct screw. There should be two of them. And two. Yeah. Yep. So, blue SCSI going in permanently. And secured permanently. So, without further ado, our SCSI cable. No, that way, yeah. And then it goes in that way, yeah. Oh, like a glove. Floppy in. Yeah, we're nearly there. We're nearly there, Barbara. The end is in sight. It's in sight. So, quick look for you. I have the 3D card out, or the accelerator card. I keep calling it 3D card. Accelerator's out, but there's your blue SCSI now. There's your floppy drive down there. On top of the floppy drive is the correct caddy for an SE30, and into the caddy is your blue SCSI oriented the correct way for the SCSI cable. That's why it has to face down. Now your SD card is at the very back, but you have a little chappy that I have to install, but I know it's for a graphics card or something to give grayscale, which is not been incorporated here, but Andrew, I'm going to leave you tidy up all that mess in there. You can do what you want, but I'm just putting this thing together now, and that's it, I'm done. Because this is just going on too long. So that's where we are now. Let's just put in the accelerator and switch it up, and we should have a working machine. Okay. I didn't really do a good job of explaining this, how to mount this card. So it's like this. On one side of the board you have this plastic stuck to the board. That's the bit that touches the metal. And here there's no plastic. It's on the other side. There. So you want metal touching at the back of the board, and you want metal touching on the front of the board. So that's how the card goes in. So you have to step it in. So I'll try and get this on video for you. So the left side of the card put behind the metal tab. See the tab there? Behind it there, straight down, and it lines up. And there's what you have. The metal tab is behind the circuit board here, and it's in front of, there's the metal tab, it's in front of it here, which is great. And when you're taking out that card, remember that that metal tab down there is heading straight for that capacitor, the one I knocked off and replaced. So that's how you mount it. You don't have to put a bolt in it, you can if you want, but anyhow, let's put this in and plug it in. So now we have PICO power. The accelerator is reinstalled, blue SCSI is installed, everything's in it, bar that network card. So here we go. Blam! Beautiful. Oh, I need the keyboard to tell you what to boot from. Yeah. I adjusted the brightness here, and I adjusted a little chop on the side of the on the back of that neck board, and it's looking pretty good, Andrew. And that PICO seems to be driving everything. Cable's not getting warm. She's booting away. All in. There it is, all finished. you can tidy up that wiring harness, a few little tie wraps, like do it whatever way you want, because I'm out of time on this. But it's all in there. There's your silent fan, PICO, and it's running fine. And there's our and there's our desktop. So let's put the back on and see what she looks like. I have a 128K Mac on its way from Malaysia. Sold it to a guy in Malaysia about 5 years ago. Analog board is starting to fail. So what we got here? 12.27 volts, and that's positive, yeah. So we're going to plug it in. This is the power brick you sent me. Oh, fuck, what? No. Yeah, worked. Okay. Forgot to test your floppy drive. Yeah. Eject. Perfect. That's it, Andrew. We're done, boy. Finally fucking finished. Like, she was a complete state of my fucking room here. That's what happens when you've been at a machine for weeks. So, and eject. I see a tiny flicker on the screen when it's ejecting. It's just power, like it's just using up, you know. But it is what it is, Andrew. And here's your machine now. Hang on, let's turn it off. Plugging it out. Finished machine. I'll plug out the mouse. It's my mouse. Now the back of the machine. I haven't reinstalled that network thing. I'm not doing that. I'm going to leave you sort that out. But it is clean. I've retrobrighted the whole machine. It's all done, and it's going to be now packed up and sent to you because I'm fucking sick of the sight of this. So anyhow, yeah. Macintosh SE 30, logic board recapped, analog board recapped, floppy drive stripped, cleaned, new cog gone into it, harness replaced with a better harness, blue SCSI installed, DIIMO 030 accelerator, recapped and installed, PICO power supply built and installed. That is a prime little SE 30.